Hey everybody, it's your host Caleb here, with this being the last and final companion podcast for the Mandalorian Season 3 from us here at Mando Talk. I wanted to begin this episode first and foremost by saying thank you to you, our lovely listeners. Whether you've been listening to every single one of our Season 3 podcast episodes or you found us along the way, we are so thankful for you. This season has been the largest, and I mean the absolute largest, listenership that Mando Talk has ever seen, and that is not possible without you guys. Thank you so much for riding with us and sharing our podcast and talking about it and talking to us. We are so blessed and fortunate and thankful for an incredible listenership. Secondly, I wanted to start this final podcast episode of the season in this way to give you an update on what you can expect for Mando Talk in the future. For the first time ever since I started this podcast back in season 1 of The Mandalorian, I'm going to be taking a bit of an extended break from podcasting. With that said though, Mando Talk will be set to return with a bang, refreshed, and rejuvenated for the upcoming Ahsoka Season 1 streaming on Disney Plus in August. My plan is to begin podcasting yet again the week before Ahsoka airs, probably with like a prediction and trailer discussion episode, and then we will start cranking out the weekly companion podcast episodes for its season as soon as Ahsoka begins to air. So, what you can do for now to continue to support the show is make sure you've hit the subscribe buttons, the follow buttons, the notification bells, wherever you are listening. That way you know first when Mando Talk does indeed return to podcast platforms. And also continue to spread the word about us to your friends, coworkers, and family members. Word of mouth is still the most powerful tool as far as helping a podcast grow. I will say YouTube Shorts, those little 1-minute videos that we can now do on YouTube, will continue during this podcasting break. Like if there's an absolute banger of an Ahsoka trailer that drops, I'll definitely have that itch to talk about it, so you can definitely expect some content on the YouTube platforms. With all of those things down though, let's now get into this podcast episode where we are going to have a ton of fun with this final companion podcast episode for The Mandalorian Season 3, featuring myself as well as DJ Foster, who is saying goodbye to being a reoccurring co-host of the show, and we have a returning guest. He helped us cover the first half of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, and that is Zach Horvath. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
This is the way.
What is up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to another episode and our final episode for Season 3 of The Mandalorian. I'm your host, Caleb Keller, and joining me are the boys, DJ Foster, at Rebel Scum Texan, and Zach Horvath. What's up, fellas?
What up?
We're here. We're doing it.
We in this. So we've got a banger of an episode to discuss. We've got Season 3 reviewed. We've got one final Mando Messenger segment to hit where we talk to our lovely listeners. And we've got some Season 4 predictions prepared for you guys. And I cannot wait to do this thing. Now, obviously, we said it off the top. DJ, this is your final one, man. As far as like, reoccurring, you'll be back. You'll be back. But how you feeling?
It's like I put it on Twitter today. You said something about it. You tagged me on, said some nice things. I hope they were, at least. I don't remember now because I've been so busy today. But For me, it's very bittersweet because I think when I created my Twitter handle and account back in 2018, it was like I just want to keep up with Star Wars, and I don't want to bog down my actual Twitter account with all of this because I knew I'd be liking and retweeting stuff. And I was like, I'll just create some fake ID basically. And then, to get to from there to this, it's not like I gained some massive following or anything. It's just, I think just from it, I didn't expect to ever join a podcast. I thought, hey, maybe one day I'll start one, but I never thought that I would end up doing one and being one, a regular on one for so long.
Yeah.
Like it was just supposed to be a guest spot. And then it was like hey, you want to come on? Yeah. Let's talk about some other stuff. Hey, do you want to be regular? Sure. I mean, at the time it all made sense. Nothing else was going on in life. But as I said last week at the end, nothing bad, no real terrible reason. I'm not like mad at anybody, and no one's, I don't think, mad at me. So it's just one of those, I have to make the choice and move forward. And to move forward, I have to leave this as a regular thing behind.
Sure.
And knowing that I can still come back essentially whenever I want to. I mean, it's not like I have tenure or anything. I can still just kind of be like, hey, see that trailer? You wanna? Yeah, okay.
Right,
So that's nice to know that invitation is already been extended and that it can be a thing in the future. But it is kind of like, oh dang. But not to like totally, I'm not trying to, make this all solemn thing or anything. I mean, just the fact that we've been doing this for as long as we have, and now Caleb, you've covered 3 whole seasons of Mandalorian. I've only covered half a season. Thanks for Zach to come in at the first half and just be the guy. If you were in Spy Kids 3D, you were the guy. I mean,
don't I die like really quickly and now what happens to the guy?
Yeah, but you're the myth. You're a true embodiment of the myth. All right.
Yeah.
So with all of that being said, it's been great, and I'm excited to talk about this, and I'm excited to see what comes down the line for Mando Talk. With we got Visions coming out next week. Survivor is dropping tonight. As of this recording, and then you've got, Ahsoka in August. There's a lot to be excited about regardless. And I think that's just saying, what you put up at the top of the key here tonight, Caleb, is there's so many good things coming. So stick around because we'll be right back in a second to do stuff. It's for like, sure. That's what's coming. So for me, just glad to be here. Glad to be a part of it. Glad Zach's here because I've only ever gotten to be on one other show with Zach. And it's so funny because I've listened to Mando Talk with Zach, as the host, and then I know he's listened to it with me as a co-host. So it's like, I feel like I know what Zach's going to say before we get anything. And I think he's the same way with me because we were talking off air about something silly that only I would pick up on. And he was like, I knew you do. I knew you'd get it. It's just one of those things. So it's just great to be here. Great to be with for the last, not the last time, but the last time. And it's great to do that with Zach and Caleb for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All great things. All great things there. Zach, we haven't talked about, I mean, we've occasionally texted, obviously, about the back half of season 3, but it's very exciting to have you actually on the podcast, and now you have to voice your opinions to the very critical Star Wars fan base. So I hope you're prepared.
I'm ready. I'll come in hot. I don't care.
Oh, we know you will, and that's why this is exciting.
Don't you worry. I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to be back. I appreciate you having me on. Number one, we were gonna just sum up the season. I didn't know it was gonna be DJ's last host day, so it's a little bittersweet there. But I'm happy to.
Big time stuff all around.
Yeah, I'm happy to be along for that ride, but I'm also just happy to talk Star Wars with y'all. It's always a good time. As DJ said, happy to be here again. We only did it once, so why not today?
Why not today?
Super excited.
Let's get into it. We'll start with our first segment here. Then we wanted to do just an overall feels review recap, emotions, now that we're a week later after, fully seeing season 3 of The Mandalorian, we wanted to kind of walk through the big talking points of the season and have this one final opportunity for all three of us to just voice our opinions, loving things, despising things, disliking things, just really across the board. Just all feels, it's kind of just like this open spoiler discussion, aftermath of all things that we've seen. And I feel like the first question or the first discussion point that we need to have is essentially this season 3, and I think everyone can agree to this, became Bo-Katan's story. I feel like that's got to be where we start. Are we okay with, yet again, another kind of, I know Boba Fett gets a lot of slack, the Book of Boba Fett gets a lot of slack for it becoming Din Djarin's story there toward the end, and now here we are with Mando Season 3, and it becomes Bo-Katan's story. So I really just kind of wanted to start there. Are we okay with Din and Grogu, while I still feel like they took the spotlight a little bit, especially it was glad to see that back in the finale, are we still okay, though, with Bo-Katan really being the character this season? And I'll just kind of open that up. DJ or Zach, whoever wants to start, what do y'all think about that question there, or that overall take?
You go first, Zach.
Okay. I think if the season finale hadn't brought us kind of back into the Din and Grogu era, I think I would have said that, yeah, I'm really good with this. It seems like the Mandalorian term, they're using that as general as possible, and it's not about Din, and it's about all the Mandalorians. However, with this season finale that we got, it renewed my hunger for just those two being together and being the main course. I think I'm okay with having this season be more about Bo, because she has skyrocketed in my interest level.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought she was awesome. And so for that very reason, I think I'm okay with it being about her. Because it was, right? It really was. Yeah. I would say 2/3 of the season was about her specifically. So, but that was okay, because I think the way they did the story, while it was meandering and I think it could have been told better, we all knew what this background story of the Mandalorians all coming together. We've been talking about this the whole season. Did it take forever to get there? Yeah, it did. However, I just think she's such a cool character that I was okay with it.
Yeah.
But I'm good. I want us back. I want the episode by episode, that video game feel that everyone chirps about. I want that back personally, because I was so happy having those two run through that base together and end up where they ended up. And it's spoilers. So, that final shot is one of my favorite shots of all time in Star Wars, because it just sums up why that show is such a big hit.
Yeah, and it sums up why those two characters have just taken the world by storm.
And
honestly,
I saw people on Reddit. They do on Reddit. They dig through it. They had this kind of thought of where Din, he didn't have anything. He was just a bounty hunter. He didn't even want any of that. He didn't want Grogu playing with the frogs. He didn't want any of this. And he looks like the happiest dude on the planet without any facial expression. We don't know what he's thinking, but the vibes I'm getting is he is the happiest dude on earth.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's reached that old man happiness of sitting on the porch and just loving life.
Such a good shot. So yeah. So long answer to say, yes, I was good. I'm good with this season. However, I do realize now that I was wrong in thinking that I was okay with getting away from Din and Grogu. Because for a little while I was like, all right, it's clear to me that we're moving on. Yeah. But I think I'm wrong, and I think I'm happy about that.
All right. DJ, how about you? How do you feel about season 3 becoming Bo-Katan's story, essentially?
A lot of good points from Zach. I will say this briefly before I talk about Bo-Katan. I was of that opinion that and I think I said this last week, I didn't necessarily like seasons 1 and 2 becoming the Grogu show. And because we were led to believe this is the Mandalorian, it's got this, and of course, subvert expectations. And we like it with Mandalorian. We don't like it with The Last Jedi. I mean, I don't, however you want to go about that, it just hits different here for some reason. And I don't really know why, but I think, Zach, where you said it comes down to that last little shot, the cabin shot, you're right. He is as happy as he's been, which, I will talk about how that happiness will be upended in our predictions for season 4 later. But I'll say for now, talking about Bo-Katan, if you think about just the entire season, okay, just retrospectively looking back at 8 episodes, I am okay with Bo-Katan coming to the forefront of this story and the way they told this story this season. I think we took for granted the fact that the Darksaber was introduced in season 1 to a certain point, because those of us who knew the history of the Darksaber, we were like, well, we should have just known it was going to connect to Bo-Katan at some point. And that the Darksaber was going to be this focal point like we saw in Clone Wars and Rebels. Bo-Katan was going to need to show up at some point, no matter what. I mean, that just had to happen, because the first thing I thought about as soon as I saw that Darksaber in season 1, where's Bo-Katan? How did she lose it? Was the first thing I thought. And then I didn't think about it for the entirety of season 2 for some reason until she showed up. And we got that little bit of nugget of, well, I lost it to Moff Gideon. Okay, short answer, cool. Where's the long answer? We finally got that in season 3. So it took from 2019 to now for us to figure that out. Most people don't tell a story that way. If it's a video game, it goes a lot faster. If it's a cartoon, it goes a lot faster. So for Bo-Katan to show up at some point, it had to happen. And then just the backstory of her losing it, we needed to hear that needed to be told. So what I think about Bo-Katan is that she's one element in a much larger story, because eventually we're going to get back to Mando and Grogu doing the side quests and all this stuff. And there was an element of that I did miss this season, weirdly enough, because I internally, maybe outwardly, I don't remember, complained a little bit about there being like, oh, he's going to, like the TikTok video that everybody's seen. Oh, it's a random planet. We need to go here so we can get baby Yoda milk. Like I got a little tired of that after a while, but now it's kind of like, well, we got this crazy offshoot sort of, but not story with Bo-Katan. Sure. And it's nice that we have this filling of the gaps in the timeline there. We now know the progression of things from Rebels to now and post Return of the Jedi. And it's like, great, we have that now. It's great. So for me, I don't think it's a problem that Bo-Katan was ever a major focal point. I think that she needed to be a major focal point. And had she not been a part of the storytelling, it would have been lackluster. Maybe not like to the casual viewer, but to the hardcore people like me, who notice when the new Anakin Skywalker Fortnite skin is the wrong lightsaber hilt. Okay, for guys like me, it's gonna be one of those nitpicky things. But now we don't have to worry about me or other nerds like me on the internet being nitpicky because they told the story. Yeah, and so for me, it's like, great, okay, awesome. Let's go to work and tell the next part of the story with Din and Grogu.
And I think that if they didn't do that change, not to interrupt you, but
I was done.
If they didn't do that change, we would have complained. If they went back, if they did the same old side quest thing, go to the planet. Oh, you need to do this job for me before you get that. Like we would have been like,
what Bad Batch
boring.
Is,
I don't know. I didn't watch this season. I'm gonna binge it though. I'm gonna binge it.
Just binge it. It's way better.
I've heard it's good. Like if you just binge it.
Yeah, just binge it.
I'm gonna do that. Don't worry.
No,
I've actually heard good things about Bad Batch.
Do like 3-episode chunks with Bad Batch.
Okay.
That might work. I really like what you said there as far as, if season 3 had done the whole, Din, you got to do this, Grogu, you got to do this for this plot to continue to move on. Yeah, people would have complained. Let's be real. People are going to complain regardless of what we did. But I also do want to say, too, the moment, and maybe this is directed toward me and DJ and people that have watched animation, the moment we learned that this story was going to turn into reclaiming Mandalore, in my opinion, it's gotta turn into Bo-Katan's story in some sense because she has such rich and deep roots connected to Mandalore.
Yeah.
And Din, like, yeah, of course, obviously he wears the armor and he is our Mandalorian for this show and always has been. And I think the end of this season shows it always will be him and Grogu at the focal point moving forward. But I don't know. I was totally okay with it. It might be my love for Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan. It might
so
be just
good,
the fact
dude.
that the
Yeah,
character
I mean,
is
incredible.
phenomenal. I loved the decision, honestly, to kind of take that change, and I do think it gets people even more excited and recharged for, like y'all were saying, season 4. Like, people are going to be, oh yeah, give me that video game episode where you do this to get that object, and that furthers the plot. Like, I'm excited. I felt like this was a change of pace that was much, much appreciated. So I absolutely love that. Now, speaking of Bo and Din, we got to talk about this too, because this was another massive online discussion. It's the shipping. It's the shipping of Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. Honestly, I want to know where we sit now that we've seen 8 episodes. Do we want to see these two come together in a relationship, or should it remain platonic? I know Katie Sackhoff was recently in an interview with Christian Harloff. By the way, phenomenal interview. I think everyone should go check it out. She was saying that they talked about it, maybe in a more so joking manner, but at least they recognize that people probably are going to feel like these two should hook up. Where do we sit on that? I know. I'll go ahead and answer. It's the easy way for me to be happy that both of them rule Mandalore. It's the easy way to get them both in that seat, in that chair where everybody views them kind of like king and queen. So I'm all for them getting together, and I'm not usually a shipper. I'm usually just somebody that's like, yeah, I love these deep friendships. I love the respect that's going on here. But nah, I'm kind of all in on this. How about you, Zach?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
But what I'll say is I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
And the reason I don't think so is because I think Bo is such a good character on her own that we don't need him around.
Well, that's true.
We don't need her with him is what I would say.
Yeah.
And also I don't think Din wants that. Like I don't think it's like the Jon Snow thing. I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. I feel like I get those vibes from Din. Because as he says, like, I don't care about this dark saber. We don't care. Like, this means nothing to me, you know? I think it's that point, and he recognizes like she's way better at this than me. So like if they get together, I'm cool. Two powerful people together, that's dope. Yeah. And the vibes were there. Like the vibes were
they were. They were there.
But
several times.
I don't really need it. I'll say I don't need it.
Fair enough. What about you, DJ?
Yeah, I was definitely a part of those people who, not being a shipper, I shipped them. I mean, it's hard not to, given the amount of like dedication they had toward one another by the end of the season. It was kind of impressive. But
and the looks. Yeah,
there were times where they would kind of like look at one another, and I was like,
Bo would look and she,
you know, like you kind of
calm down, girl.
Yeah,
we're in the cave. Like,
yeah. Like we got to fight these guys. Like,
yeah,
focus
like,
up.
Calm
you
down.
know? So, but I don't. Going forward, though, I'm not going to say whether or not they are going to. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can't even make an assumption that seems rational that would happen in going forward or not happen, because I just don't. I don't know. So that being said, if it does, I don't want it to be like this full-fledged Empire Strikes Back, Attack of the Clones style like romance. I don't think that's necessary for this. Like, and if they do it and they write it well, go ahead. I don't care as long as it's written well.
Sure.
I mean, at this point, as a Star Wars fan, you know, we've had some duds and we've had some, you know, some straight up, studs. Okay, we've had duds and studs. Mandalorian is a stud when it comes to the writing. And
yeah, he is. That's why Bo-Katan won.
I was. I meant the show.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
But I don't think if they do continue this, don't make it some ooey gooey thing.
Sure.
And don't like toss don't toss like a bone to fans just because.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
like they did that with Rise of Skywalker. They just said, okay, we'll throw you a bone. And then I remember when it happened, half the audience in Rise of Skywalker moaned, and groaned, and the other half went yay, and I was
Sure,
like this,
yeah.
and I remember sitting in my seat going, "Well, you got your wish, Raylos." Like I don't want the Bo Dinbo.
Sure.
I don't know which it is.
Is that what they're calling it? I don't even know what they're calling it.
Well,
Is his name Din or is it Jarin?
Oh boy,
it's Bo Rarin. That's their ship name. It's the worst thing you could come up with. So
yeah,
that's my thought on that.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And I brought up the Darksaber, so I want to. Y'all heard my take on it. Like he didn't care about it. Their clan doesn't care about it. Half the people, obviously, it means everything to them.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from a guy who didn't watch the animated shows, I just thought it was a really cool lightsaber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
and that's probably like hurts your ears, DJ.
yeah,
I get it.
I mean, it hurts mine too.
But like, frankly, if I just watch The Mandalorian, that's all it is. Like,
sure.
That's all they give me is that, okay, he got it from her. Cool. It's really cool looking. That's like all we kind of get, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so when it got destroyed, I knew I could hear the cries from the rafters of like, what just happened?
That was
I
me.
knew it. And I literally looked at my wife. We're sitting at the airport watching this on my iPad. And I looked at her and said, uh-oh. She said, what does that matter? So I was like, exactly.
Yeah. To be like the casual person, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah. It was just like, oh no. It's her sword.
Anyway.
But yeah, exactly. And so for me, it didn't really affect me. I was just like, okay, good. Get that, I don't know, get it out of the way. That thing, I saw somebody online saying like, that's the cursed thing. So get it out of the way. And I'm like, oh, maybe. So cool. Get it out of there.
Yeah, there's definitely some curse there, but I mean, I think it has a redemption story coming personally.
Okay. So you do think, DJ, that the Darksaber is going to get reforged and come back?
Yeah, I really do. And I have predictions that go along with that.
So there's a little tease.
Yeah.
Well, I will say for me, my immediate reaction when that Darksaber got destroyed, I was a little crushed, a little perturbed. If I'm being honest, I'm like, what the heck? That's the thing. What we doing? But honestly, it was you, Zach, that kind of talked me off that ledge. We texted after the finale. Din Djarin and the Mandalorian people, as far as his group, they don't care. They don't care at all. We've gotten to the point, and really Bo-Katan's gotten to the point. She even says, we're stronger together. It doesn't matter about these little trinkets and this past stuff. And also, it makes way for the mythosaur, which we definitely get a massive tease with that thing by the end of this episode. I'm sure we'll get to that as far as us looking back on the season. But yeah, admittedly, initially, the destruction of that, but I'm all in on it now. And I'm okay if it gets reforged. I'm cool with it. But if it doesn't, I'm also cool with that. But it sounds like, Zach, you just don't want it back at all.
I'm good. I don't need that thing.
I kind of do want it back, but just because it's cool.
It is dope. It is awesome.
Like,
I will say that.
And I don't know. It just kind of, okay, take a page from like Lord of the Rings. The blade that was broken has been remade. I like the idea of taking that note because let's not forget, I'm going to get uber nerdy here real quick. The words Mando and Lorian were invented by J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay. If you give a copy of the Silmarillion, there's a whole lexicon and dictionary in the back of it. And Mandos is a god that Tolkien created. Lorien is a location where the elves in Middle Earth live. So Mandos Lorien, right there, and it's a common word used in that world. So to borrow again from that lore makes perfect sense to me. So bring it back and use it the right way, kind of like the whole spies thing. We thought, who's the spy? Who's the spy? Who's the spy? Well, actually, it was a reference to the 12 tribes of Israel scouting out the promised land, like that's what it was. The Mandalorians were doing. They were scouting out their rightful home, so that was the perfect little note. And but just sidebar on that, I as an ordained minister, I'm so sad and so disappointed and ashamed that I did not pick up on that immediately the first time I watched it. But sidebar, there you go. That's going back to that, reforge it. It'd be great if it was reforged. And I hope the armor is the one who helps reforge it, because that'd be even cooler.
That would be dope.
What a cool scene though, by the way, starting that forge up. I didn't get to talk about that. That was awesome. That was emotional.
I'm trying to see. I don't know if it's in the notes. So let's go ahead and talk about that then, because I do think that's a massive. Point,
so.
The
that
Great
whole
Forge.
dude, that whole like Bo doing Bo things, leading the whole clan, like all, throughout the episode, not just the Forge, but like her flying in with the saber. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, all day. All day.
That was so
like,
cool.
and so some people had an issue and they felt like it was rushed at the end with like the Rocky montage, basically. But I loved it. I thought it would like, I don't need long scenes of this specific point because I know we're going to come back to it. Does that make sense? So like, I don't need them discussing, oh, do we need to start the Forge? Come with me. Let's go do it. Like them just showing that emotional moment of her doing it. And I loved it so much. So I was a big fan of how they shot it, how they kind of basically did a Cliff Notes of it, and I was okay with that.
Yeah, no, I liked the pacing of the Forge scene for sure. I like the music swelling. I like the for Mandalore kind of shout from Axe Woves.
That made me feel so terrible about all of my
suspicions
and theories, because I was like, he's a real one, man. Come on, yeah.
I thought it was the armorer, who's like another real one. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry,
so glad that whole spy thing was just for nothing. Yeah. So pumped for that.
Dissolved so fast.
So, but what I will say, debatably, I liked that there was that intrigue, because that whole season finale, I was on the edge of my seat.
Oh,
I was like,
that's true.
Who is gonna turn? Axe is gonna turn now,
I wonder though.
Now.
I wonder though if Favreau and Filoni even thought of that while writing it though, or if it was more so a fan thing that we all caught on to. I
truly believe that they probably did.
Okay, yeah.
Why would they call it the Spies? And they know there's a whole YouTube community of.
If anything,
it just zoomed in pictures.
If anything, it just like adds the fuel and the kindling to the fire that it needed. Because like. We were like, it's insane. We're not gonna know what to do with ourselves. Then we get down, we're like, oh, well,
it's like, they're all actually good.
That's all good. Oh, all right.
They're all true Mandalorians.
Yeah, we're not like, we're not like sitting here in the back seat thinking, oh, that was stupid. It actually worked, and it was. I probably took a gamble on it if I had to guess.
True.
To think, will this work with this title? Well, we'll find out.
I agree. Well, because they the titles are so small, like they're 2 words, 1 word. So they deliberate. The way those guys talk to each other, that they've gone each other's necks a couple times. So picking a title probably takes a week and a half for those guys.
What's so great about the titles that if you read all 24 of them in order, they tell the story with 2 words.
That's my point. Is think about how much you got to think about your story that you're trying to sum up in 2 words.
And think about this too. 23 out of 24 chapters begin with the word the. That's it. 1 chapter, it was this season, didn't have the at the beginning of it.
I didn't notice that.
I've been keeping track of it's going to be the something, and then it wasn't the something, I was like, oh.
I like it.
I don't know what to do with it. I think it was episode 6 of this season. I think it was the Jack Black episode. Can't remember.
The Jack Black episode. We'll definitely get to talk about that one a little bit too, because Zach wasn't on the show for that one, so I'll be very intrigued.
It's probably a good thing he wasn't on the show for that one.
We'll see. Okay. Well, one other thing, other than the Darksaber and the Great Forge, that is very, very vital and important regarding Mandalorian culture is this mythosaur. Now we got the mythosaur in episode 2 of this season, and from that we didn't revisit it at all. We just continue to get tease after tease after tease, and even more so teasing by the end of this thing with Grogu looking into the water, and we see it a little bit better. But how do we feel about that? Because I know for me, I was itching and just chopping at the bit to get the mythosaur in action, but it literally just sat there the entire season, and it's just this low-hanging fruit for future seasons, hopefully, that we eventually get to. So I guess I am a little bummed that we didn't see it. It's making me feel better that it seems like they know, okay, we eventually got to show this thing, because Grogu, there's a heavy tease there. But how do y'all feel about it?
I think it's hilarious that they probably set up the mythosaur to be like, that's the thing the YouTubers are going to like focus on. And then we're like, who's the spy? I don't know the spy.
Yeah,
like,
there's an S. It's not just the
it's
spy,
not just
it's
one.
spies.
You know, I think they're probably just like sitting at home rolling their eyes,
my gosh.
scrolling Reddit and Twitter, like, oh, that was dumb. But
Yeah.
So I think with the mythosaur itself, okay, I don't think necessarily that it's low hanging fruit. Okay. And I'll briefly explain why. It's a setup for what's to come. All right. I don't think it's like it's a bait and switch thing, because if they leave it out there as a bait and switch thing, we're never going to see it. That was it. And I think that they need to tell us this is coming. It's going to happen. And I said this last week, Grogu, that tease with his reflection in the water and the camera goes down into the deeps of it. He's made connections with non-sentient creatures before. Okay. I hope this will be my first prediction for future seasons. Okay. Don't know what, I'm just going to throw it out. It's going to happen somewhere. Grogu is going to tame the mythosaur. Plain and simple. There's no way he's not at this point. That they don't do that tease. They don't give you a force sensitive character like that. You don't do all the stuff you did with Ezra Bridger in Rebels without having some kind of a plan for that later on. Not to mention, we've seen other Jedi do that. Just a couple. Jedi Survivor comes out tonight / tomorrow / it's already out, if depending on when you're listening to this. It's Cal Kestis connects with non-sentient creatures in this new game, but in the previous game he didn't. Ezra Bridger, already said him. Rey in Rise of Skywalker. One thing that I think Rise of Skywalker does do well, it's one of many things I think it does well, but we don't need to get in that. That was a great scene. It set up some really good Force stuff. So there's a lot that has been built to Grogu doing that. So Mythosaur, it's happening. I don't think it's low-hanging fruit, but it does set something up. I don't think it's a bait and switch.
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely sets something up. I don't know. I guess
I think it's a no-brainer.
With it being shown early, I was expecting more with it, but continue, Zach.
I'll be short and sweet. I agree with everything you said, DJ. I think it's a no-brainer. I think Grogu tames this thing. I think we see it in the movie.
That would be the best place to see it.
I don't think we see it in the next season.
Because that's what I was just thinking too, because we've got Din and Grogu going off on these other adventures.
And which tells me that the movie main battle is going to take place on Mandalore, on a reclaimed Mandalore. And
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if when Daisy Ridley's next Star Wars outing comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if it connects to the Mandalorian movie. Because I think that they need to. I don't know
if I'd hold my breath on that one.
Well, I'm not saying that Grogu and Rey are going to share a scene, because I would like that.
I would love that. Oh my
but
God!
I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just think that it's something that people are talking about. What I'm saying is, I think that Mandalore, the planet, is going to be something significant. In whatever they do after Rise of Skywalker, because I think we need to come back full circle to that, and people will be able to say, oh, I remember Mandalore because of the TV show. Things like that.
My only thing with that is I believe the Rey movie's coming first, so you're kind of giving away what happens if we've got Grogu or Mandalore.
But the Rey movie's coming first?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 2025. But but we still have Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, and possibly Mandalorian Season 4 before then. And whatever else, and Andor Season 2. And Bad Batch Season 3. I mean, they're going to, and that maybe not Visions, but they're going to throw all this stuff out there.
I don't think they bring any of it up. I don't think they connect it.
No, they're going to. I think they will.
I don't think so.
I don't personally think so either, but
we'll
see.
The three movies are going to live in their own world. Hey, I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, I would love.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I would love if there's some Mandalorian. Are you kidding me? This is Mando talk.
It already comes with so much baggage that I don't think they're going to want to dilute the water.
That makes sense.
All right, sorry. Yeah, that's more of a prediction thing.
Yeah.
But so Mythosaur, we're going to see it in the movie. Grogu's going to tame the thing. It's going to be so sick. We've already seen him, just like DJ said, with the Rancor. We've seen him like deal with things with the Force. And the fact that he looks in the water and the thing wakes up tells me all I need to know. Am I sad we didn't see it? I don't think I am, actually. I don't think it would have made sense. I would have been like, okay. Like,
Okay.
Well, with the story they told, it wouldn't make sense.
that's what I mean. Like with the story they told, I would have been like, oh, okay.
Because it couldn't be that difficult to be Jon Favreau and say, by the end of this, Din Djarin will ride the mythosaur. How do we get there?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
That's what he does for a living. He could have done it, but like,
which I would be okay. Like, I think I'm okay with Grogu just doing the mythosaur. I think that would be sick. But he grows or he ages so slow that I guess it would have to be Din that rides it. Is that what we're thinking here?
Grogu
Maybe. And
it's a Ratatouille situation. It's where Grogu, like, he's controlling the mythosaur, but Din has to like
riding on Din.
But Din has to like, hold the reins. It'd be something like that. It'd be something. It would be it. But
if that happens that way, they're gonna sell 500 gajillion toys of that.
I'll buy all of them.
It's gonna be so sick. It's gonna be so sick. But
I'm conflicted. I just don't want the mythosaur because we know what happens with Grogu. Anything that he touches turns into just cuteness. I don't want the mythosaur to turn into this cuteness kind of plot point.
We could age Grogu up a little bit.
It will. It's gonna be a toy.
Okay.
The Razor Crest is a sick toy.
Listen, Caleb, your whole mindset will change one day when you see Dawson, your son, sitting on the floor playing with his mythosaur.
And he's going to be holding the mythosaur and Grogu.
And he'll be like, "Wow!"
And you're going to be like,
DJ and Zach called
blown.
Okay. No, and I definitely do think Grogu is going to be the one eventually. I hope the mythosaur maintains its epicness.
The reason I
is
think
what I'm
it
trying to
will
say.
is because of they didn't just show their cards this season. I think they know what they have.
Yeah.
And they gave a lot of
got gold.
illusions with like the logos showing up everywhere, the skull or whatever, and then Bo talking about it so much. I think they know what they have with this. So
yeah,
you can't
that's a good point.
You can't just do it.
And don't forget, like, it's not gonna the Rancor in Book of Boba Fett, I didn't immediately go, "Aw," as soon as Grogu tamed it.
That's what I mean. Like,
sure.
I don't think it's like
because it does some destruction stuff.
But it's a litmus test. The Rancor was a litmus test for the mythosaur later.
Yeah. Well, and the mythosaur is like a pretty freaking big deal. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't just a simple Rancor.
Yeah. Right. No, I agree. Well, we'll see. I'm very excited about the mythosaur eventually getting in the mix. It's definitely going to happen. I'm just getting a little impatient with it. Oh, well. But let's now move on to next talking point with Season 3, and that's Chapter 22, Guns for Hire, better known as the Lizzo, Jack Black, Christopher Lloyd cameo-heavy episode. I want to know how we feel about that one in particular because it seems like that chapter became even more divisive than the Chapter 19 Covert, a.k.a. Dr. Pershing episode. I still don't like it. I got to be honest. I still don't love this episode at all. I rewatched it. I just don't vibe with it at all. I immediately get taken out with the Lizzo, Jack Black stuff. I love Christopher Lloyd, though. That's great. And I love the ending of the episode, but still, it's one of those that as far as rewatching, if I ever rewatch The Mandalorian, which I'm always going to be rewatching this, I don't know if I have to watch it. I don't know if I feel the need to just watch this episode again. So let's pass it to Zach, though, because I know he wasn't on the podcast for this one. How did you feel about Lizzo and Jack Black specifically, and the chapter overall, showing up in season 3 of The Mandalorian?
I'm coming from the top here. I like this episode. All right, and I'll tell you why I like.
I was wrong in my assumption.
Yes, I was wrong in what I was thinking too, and I'll tell you why I liked it. It gave me the vibes of what I had been missing, where we get this mission and it's simple. You go to the place, you have some fun stuff. There's some Star Wars lore in there, which is awesome, right? There's some prequel stuff like that. Is that right? Prequel stuff with the big robot. Thought that was cool. I loved all that. Did I think it worked in this season? Definitely not. Especially like the placement was so weird. Like we're coming to this like climax of Mandalore and then we do this random thing. I completely see that. But and my wife agrees with this. She loves this episode because it is so goofy. And I think by seeing Lizzo and Jack Black, it immediately took me out of like the seriousness of it. Where like I could definitely see where y'all are coming from with like, what are we doing here? It's just a cameo fest. But that gave me the campiness that I needed. That I think I gave it a little bit of love because it was fun to me. I had fun watching this episode.
Oh yeah,
and it made me hate the Pershing one even more. I hate that episode.
Man,
that I despise that episode. Especially now that we've seen the season.
Yeah.
Oh, I disagree.
Oh,
the Pershing episode.
I disagree. Here's why though, because when you listen to Pershing's speech in the opera house,
I don't even remember what he said.
That's why I'm bringing it up, because
Thank you.
So many people have missed it. I mean, and I'm not just calling you. I'm not calling anybody.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying,
we're having a discussion.
There are things that there's little notes of world building happening consistently in every episode of The Mandalorian, no matter if they're goofy or just flat out suck, which is very rare for
I
Mandalorian.
agree with you on that.
Now, where Pershing's story makes sense, and for it to be told this way, I genuinely enjoy world builds because Pershing is talking about the cloning aspect. He's talking about why it's necessary and why it needs to come, why he's wanting to utilize cloning because of his mom died of an illness. That's instantly relatable. So what happens? You have Moff Gideon's little crony come in and say, I'm going to undercut this fool. Next thing you know, he's out. Don't remember a thing he ever learned. That's how I saw the whole mind flare thing. And now Moff Gideon, he's effectively destroyed the thing that he actually needs, weirdly enough. But he put all his eggs in the basket of those clones that Din just comes in and said, I'm gonna blow this up real quick and move on.
So weird,
yeah, that was way too fast. But even so, Pershing's episode is so important because it shows Moff Gideon's ego and his arrogance. It shows Pershing's desire to do something great, and he can't do it.
See, I think my issue with the episode is because what you just said could have been done in like 5 minutes.
So, I mean, yeah,
that's a fair point.
It is a fair point.
An entire episode of these people I didn't even know or remember in this place that I don't care about.
Yeah.
I think that's what took me out of it so hard.
I think then that kind of thing is for weird dorks like me who want that extra stuff.
I think it is. Like, I think it's perfect for y'all. And for me, coming from just a general sense, we got such a sick Mandalorian front and end of that episode.
Yeah.
It made me like, what do we do? Like,
it may have been better
wasting time.
And it may have been better to not have those bookends that way and just do Pershing.
I think what you just said, or what you said earlier about the writing, I think that's what didn't work for me, because what you just said is way more interesting than what we got on the screen to me.
Well, thank you.
Well, what I mean is, like, you kind of summed it up.
That's a great compliment.
But like, it was so boring to watch it play out.
It is a boring episode. It hits more like this underground.
He's talking about his mom,
Clone Wars
and I'm
episode.
like, dude, I don't care about you. I'm sorry. Like, I have no pull to you. And then we get the chick who's like the spy, but she's good. No, she's not good. And that twist
that'll come in later though too, I think.
And like, I'm happy that we got to discuss this. I was so excited to talk to y'all about the Guns for Hire because it did work for me, and I know I'm the minority in that. But that's okay because I think I'm the minority of the Pershing episode personally. I think people have come around on the whole like idea of the cloning.
I certainly did. Yeah.
And I definitely have not. I watched it again. I tried to give it some love, and I just
fell asleep.
Nap time. Yeah.
Well,
I just I loved it. I loved the fun of Guns for Hire. Is it the second worst episode to me? 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
It is definitely not, top of the line here. Probably of the series.
I would say the series.
That's what I was going to say. The worst episode of the series.
There may be another episode in like season 2 that I didn't like more.
Gunslinger is the worst.
I think there's one.
That's the one with Toro Calican. Season 1.
Yeah, that's the worst episode.
I like that one.
Guns for Hire is way better for one reason and one reason only: battle droids.
But see,
that's what
I can get battle droids if I throw in the prequels. I can't get Fennec Shand anywhere else except Gunslinger.
We got to see
now more stuff. That's the only place
Din.
you can see her introduction.
He was so broken, and he hated them so much. I loved seeing that. there was like that story beat where he's just kicking them.
Sure.
And
yeah,
that's
that was
pure
hilarious.
emotion.
That was hilarious.
Like,
watching
it's funny,
him kick
but, like,
those droids.
But the deeper of it is that, he hates these droids for a reason, right? And so I just thought that was so well intertwined. But yeah, fun discussion. I was excited. I saw this on the docket. I was like, I can't wait to talk about
those 2 episodes are really good discussion points for sure.
Like I will say, like,
I mean, I agree.
We discussed them. It's like, what are we doing here with these 2 episodes?
There's a dud for every stud. All right, that's just what it is.
Yeah, and the
Guns
Mandalorian
for
has a lot
Hire
more studs than duds.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, I would agree.
Guns for Hire is fun. I'll give you that. It's like you mentioned with the Dr. Pershing episode, how we start and finish with just this Mandalorian goodness.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Chapter 22. We don't start with it, but we end with the whole Darksaber and Bo-Katan and Axe fighting. Like, that was incredible.
We do start with it because they have to get to the planet. And then the tractor beam hits, and that's what takes them away.
I mean, I'm just saying, as far as chapter 19 with Dr. Pershing, we had a Imperial shootout. Like, we didn't have.
I'll
that
say this:
to kick
I
off
will
chapter 22.
rewatch. I will rewatch Guns for Hire more than I'll rewatch the Dr. Pershing episode. But having said that, Guns for Hire is still the second worst of the series for me because it's so goofy. Like,
it's too far.
It's just like the litmus test, like, of weird for Mandalorian is the jailbreak episode in season 1 with Bill Burr. Like, that's it. That's as far as you go right there.
Good episode.
It is, and it was weird. Did not have anything to do with what we ended up seeing in 7 and 8 of that season, but you still get to a certain point where you're like, okay, I like the weird every now and then, but this was just flat out goofy. Don't need that all the time. Maybe it was something
with you on
maybe
that,
Disney was just like, hey, listen, Favreau, we like what you're writing, but you got to do something kind of lighthearted here before we get to our last 2 episodes because those are heavy.
Well, that's what threw me off with the placement of this episode, because it was just like we're coming to this the end. We're coming to the
it should have been like a 3rd episode, 4th episode.
Yeah, I agree.
And the thing about it too, the episode prior was that big moment where Bo-Katan gets to take her helmet off and she's essentially the chosen Mandalorian. So you're just kind of expecting
that's what I mean.
Hardcore Mandalorian
she's gonna meet with
culture
the Mandalorians,
stuff.
And we're gonna get the axe fight as like an episode, right? She's gonna have to find them, and like I just feel like I'm trying not to do the thing that I hate. And I've talked to Keller about this, where you try to put your own stuff on the story. Like, no, if I would have done it, it would have been this way. I try not to do that. And I get very pet peeved about that because, hot take, Star Wars fans are the worst at doing that.
1,000%. Because I am in that Venn diagram.
They are the worst at, like, well, if I was writing it, I would have blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
and probably would have been cool, but that's not what we got. So what we got is this.
It's easy to say I would have done this instead of that.
Oh, exactly.
Because that's what people who like are so arrogant to say, oh, I would have done that way better. It's like, would you have though? Because you're not the one getting paid millions of dollars to write Disney Plus content.
And also, like, let's not discredit all the sick, amazing storytelling we've already got.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think these 2 episodes are easily the worst, probably the worst in the series for me. No, they are the worst in the series. But yeah,
I guess
I liked it. It was fun.
There is one last thing I do want to add to this. I guess another reason why it bums me out, this chapter, specifically chapter 22, is the fact that it's the one that used Bryce Dallas Howard. I just feel like her takes on Mandalorian are so great that it really bums me out that she was used for this episode. And maybe she got to pick it, and maybe she just kind of wanted to change the pace. If that's the case, great, awesome. I love her takes on like the deep Mandalorian stuff.
I wonder where this fell into her schedule with the 3rd Jurassic World.
That's a good point too.
Because she's not behind the camera there; she's in front of the camera. Which I finally got to watch that movie. She did great in that movie. You know,
I've never seen any.
I haven't seen it either. Me
either. The trilogy itself is. But the 3rd one she did, I just like I focused on her because I knew she was going to be doing Mandalorian. So I was like, what am I going to get from this? Is kind of where I was thinking.
Okay.
I like Chris Pratt.
So, I love Chris Pratt. I follow. He's like one of the few celebrities I actually follow on social media. Love him.
Oh yeah, he's
but
awesome.
when I think about her in that, and then versus Mandalorian, it's kind of like, okay, you probably got the short straw here because you were busy with Paramount Pictures or Universal, and doing their thing because you can't be in two places at once. You can't. It's very difficult to act and direct on a single movie, much less two different things.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something there, and it's why she got this episode.
Maybe. Well, let's go ahead. Let's carry on in our season 3 reflection here. I feel like the next thing we need to touch on is the fact that y'all alluded to it. We get some prequel love in this season, and really specifically that really hits home with the fact that Ahmed Best returns and portrays Jedi Master Kelleran Beck. This Jedi is revealed to be the one to save Grogu from Order 66, from the Jedi Temple. And I know me and Zach, we kind of speculated on there's still stuff here that we could come back to eventually. Obviously, we didn't do that here in Season 3, but I do think the stage has been set to continue to get more and more stuff here. DJ, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Grogu maybe getting explored with some more flashbacks from Jedi Kelleran Beck? And I know you weren't on the show, the podcast, when this happened, so maybe take an opportunity here to share your appreciation for Ahmed Best coming back and play as well.
Yeah, I got the next episode after that one was when I came back. And so we talked about it just a little bit, which is so funny to for me because I was 2 episodes behind because I was when I was traveling, I was in a country that didn't have Disney Plus even allowed. I couldn't even connect to watch it on Wi-Fi. I was in Israel, they just don't allow it, So I'm finally I have an overnight in Austria and I can finally watch it. So I'm sitting there on this hotel bed, just in awe of what I'm watching on my phone. I'm like, man, I wish I was watching this on the TV. So first of all, I was like, this is incredible. I can't believe they did it. But I want to see more of Kelleran Beck, not because it's Ahmed Best. Okay.
Yeah.
Ahmed Best. And can you imagine, first of all, think about it. It's a Star Wars Celebration, the love that Hayden Christensen got just being on the stage. And we've all seen it. Just everybody, Hayden, and all of that. Imagine if him and Ahmed Best were there together, the universe would have imploded. Okay.
It's been wild.
People would have gone nuts to see them together because they both just gained these incredible redemption arcs in their career. So I'm not talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about real freaking life. They got these redemption arcs because they were once hated by people. Now they're universally loved by Star Wars fans. So for me, watching Ahmed Best show up and me immediately knowing that's Jar Jar freaking Binks and he's a Jedi, let's go. It took everybody a day and a half to realize that's what was happening. So for me, I was just stoked. So that's my take on that episode. Honestly, it feels like a fever dream. I don't even remember the rest of the episode. So with that being the case, okay, let's talk about the future. I want to see more Kelleran Beck. I want to see more Grogu and Kelleran Beck content. When, if, or where that happens, I will save some of that for predictions. But for now, I will say, well, just do it. Because you have this golden opportunity. And when they release the Kelleran Beck Black Series figure, I'm going to be the first person in line, and I'm going to display it next to my Jar Jar Binks Black Series. Okay. It will get its own display case. And everybody's like, you like Jar Jar Binks? I'm like, I like Jar Jar Binks. I've been there since 99. You shut up, fool. I was there.
Same.
So it's just one of those things for me that it worked so freaking well that I can't help but just love it. And I talked more about that than I really intended to, but
that's what we do here, man. It's your final one. You take the
I know,
floor.
but I don't want to stay here all night. I still want to go to sleep at some point. But I think that watching him show up and seeing that take place is the most kick butt way thing to do, and to do it with just having Ahmed Best portray him. I mean, it's great. Do I expect to see him again?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll say that for my predictions, because it is a major prediction for me.
Fair enough. Zach, you got any other final thoughts on Kelleran Beck?
I loved it. One of my favorite scenes of Mandalorian. We've talked about it a little bit already,
Yeah,
but
we did. Go back and listen, folks. Go back
he's
and
coming
listen.
back. He's coming back.
I think
We're seeing
so,
him
too.
next season. We're going to get some more Grogu flashbacks, and he's
It
going
would
to be
make
in
sense. It would make sense.
And it's going to be
good.
awesome.
It'd be good.
Yeah. All right. Well, after the finale aired, everyone witnessed Moff Gideon's fate, and then suddenly all of the discussion kind of turned to, was that really Moff Gideon that died or not? Because, of course, in the finale, we get the reveal that Moff Gideon's created his own clones with Force capabilities. So, of course, we got to ask, do we fully suspect and believe, we got to have our contribution to this discussion, do we believe that Moff Gideon himself has perished, or was this in fact a clone? I'm going to go ahead, lead this off short real quick here. I hope it was the real Moff Gideon, because I feel like that will keep the emotional impact and the reason behind this season intact. And it might get lost a little bit if he does somehow find a way to come back. And all of this stems from the fact that he doesn't have a mustache. People are going crazy about this. Zach, I don't think you were on for this one. No, you weren't, because it was the finale. So what do you think? Gideon dead, or was that a clone?
I'll put it on the table here. I think it was him.
Okay.
I don't think it was a clone. Am I like 100% on that? No, I'm probably like 62% that it was him. But I just think if it's not him, it just takes away the heaviness of all of the Bo-Katan stuff and the ending, and I just think it makes it all for naught. So I do think it's him.
I agree with you. DJ?
I have kind of two points of view on this, and they're juxtaposed to one another. So I'll say one's going to sound like I'm being hypocritical a little bit, I guess. But so I don't want to believe that the Gideon we saw in the finale is a clone. Like I don't want to. I want to believe that was the real Gideon. But I started to think about it in that frame of mind, and I was like, okay, let's say that let's just say it's a clone. Okay, let's just say it's a clone. Do we ever see any other clone troopers in Clone Wars claim to be Jango Fett? No, that never happens. Not one clone ever does that. But in Rise of Skywalker, on the complete flip side of that, what do we see claiming to be the real deal? A clone of Palpatine. So I'm kind of in two camps here. If it's not a clone and he's dead, cool, whatever. But let's say it was a clone. Like, if it's a clone, we got ourselves a Sheevy Palpatine thing going on over here, where he is a clone. The novel confirms that. They even kind of have a little throwaway line in Rise of Skywalker. Beaumont says, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew. It's just one of those things. So is it dark science? Yeah. Is it cloning? Yeah, the cloning and the dark science are happening.
He returned.
Yeah, somehow he returned. Yes, somehow he did return. But the somehow he did return is dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith apparently knew. So there's a trifecta element here where they're making Rise of Skywalker make sense, which is what I've been advocating for ever since I've jumped back on the show, is sequel trilogy trying to be more relevant within Mandalorian. They're leading to that. It's got to happen. And they've been doing it all season and did it really well, in my opinion. But I think that having these two places, it's like, so where does that leave us? Is he a clone? I have no freaking idea. Is it the real Gideon? I have no freaking idea. Like,
what I'd say is that
I really have no idea.
If I'm Gideon, it is a clone. If I can clone, we saw he's got the clones brewing.
Yeah.
Maybe he did some testing before the forced component, and that is one of them. Because like I said, it's the typical thing you see in like these like dictatorships. Like you don't walk out in the open. You have your body double walk out in the open. That way, if you get assassinated, it ain't you.
Attack.
And I'm even thinking of like Tron Legacy when we see Jeff Bridges. Yeah, I almost said Jeff Daniels, and I was like, that's Dumb and Dumber. That's not right. But when we see Jeff Daniels basically clone himself, and then he creates Clue, you're kind of like, well, okay, that's a clone of himself, and then the clone thinks he's the real deal when he's not. Which is that's a very old school way of looking at things. Here with Gideon, he's looking at him like, me and you, we're the same. Get that
Yeah.
straight right now. If it is
we're
a clone,
together.
if
Yeah.
it's a clone, or maybe it's his twin, his evil twin, his even extra evil twin.
Hey, no one's talking about that. Evil twin.
Where's the soap opera element here,
If
y'all?
this was like 1991, that's his evil twin, folks.
1000%. It's
You
his
better
evil
believe
twin.
it.
But I still kind of sit there. Like I said, is he a clone? I have no idea. Is it Gideon? I have no idea.
Okay.
And they'll if they never bring it up again, it's Gideon. If they bring it up again, it's not Gideon. It just see what happens.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense also story wise, where like now he was like, oh, Thrawn, you say the name, oh, he's not here. It kind of wipes that slate clean where we can get to Thrawn.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too. I kind of view it almost like MCU phases here. Like phase 1 of The Mandalorian, Moff Gideon, and it's all about getting back to Mandalore. Phase 2 is about to become Thrawn and the New Republic, big galactic battle that comes together. I kind of view it that way. So, I mean, if that's going to stay intact, I do personally believe that was, in fact, the real deal, the real Moff Gideon that burned to a crisp there. And I also think, too, and we didn't even mention this, the dude's got Beskar armor on. I mean, I guess there's still a chance that his body maintained enough to stay alive, and it wasn't even a clone. Maybe it was just
we saw
Gideon
Mando
himself.
take straight fire.
Right.
To the face.
But I'm still hoping
they dropped
that it
a
was Gideon.
spaceship on the man.
Yeah. You never know.
Well.
I didn't see his ashes. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, you didn't see the ashes when the
Palpatine-
Challenger explosion happened
Didn't
back in the
Palpatine
80s.
blow
okay?
up in a Death Star? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Anything's
true.
possible.
I guess. Okay. All right. But
Sure.
that was different. It was Force essence being transferred.
Yeah. I pray that I just want him to be gone.
I think
I'm
it'd be
good.
best if he was dead because that
I'm
brings
good.
in Thrawn. But
Correct.
but I still have no idea. Like I just I really have no discussion. John Favreau.
The fact that we got the Dark Council or whatever they called themselves.
Shadow
that's
Shadow
enough for
Council.
me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Give me
That's
that
great.
show.
Yeah.
That's
John
great.
Favreau is
Shadow.
going to have to look me in the eye and say he's dead for me to 100% believe it. And that's,
Hey, you never know.
yeah. So call me a doubter, but whatever.
Well, we
You know?
just saw like 8 of them in tubes, so we don't know
There's-
what's going to
yeah.
happen.
You think he doesn't have 8 more just chilling
That's what I mean,
somewhere else?
like-
Yeah. Yeah. Like he says
Those are just the Force ones.
he's kind of like comes up like Patrick Starr in that SpongeBob episode with the chocolate
Yeah.
bar when the clones get blown up. He's like, "You took my only food. Now
Hey,
I'm
you did-
gonna starve." Like
I didn't know you had a Patrick voice. I like
I
that.
do have a Patrick voice. Can I tell a quick sidebar story? It has nothing to do with Star Wars, or should we move on?
That's up to you, man.
I'm gonna do
There
it.
you go.
I've got this kid in my church who he played varsity basketball. I go to one of his playoff games a few months ago. This other team gets up to free throw, dead silent in the gym. So I just wait for him to free throw, and I go, little.
Oh,
And
nice.
got a full
Oh,
laugh
man.
from the gym. I was like, oh, I can die happy now. It was great. So anyway, I do have a Patrick voice. It's pretty much limited to just like a handful of things, but that's it. So
I
yeah,
like it. Sounds good.
Fair enough. Well,
that's nothing to do with Star Wars. I'm so sorry, but let's go on.
well, turning back to The Mandalorian here, Pirates. The Pirates were a pretty big deal throughout this season. Of course, we got Salad the Hutt, Kale the Hutt. I don't know what you want to call him. The big green dude. What was his name again?
Gorian Shard.
That's
the greatest name Star Wars has given us since 1970.
Pretty great. Pretty great. Pirates, overall, did they work for us? For me, sure. They felt very Star Warsy. I absolutely loved Gorian Shard. What a stand-up dude. I love the fact that he went down with a ship.
Heck yeah, baby.
I'm
And I
sorry.
even love, what's his name? Kane? Vane? Bane? We got too many
The
Kanes,
dude
Banes,
that's like
going on.
always running from stuff. That
It's
guy.
Vane. It's Vane.
Vane?
Now that I'm thinking about it. I like the fact that he jets off, and I'm pretty confident. I think it's Bespin Bulletin or somebody out there has reported that dude's showing up in Skeleton Crew. So I love that interconnective connection storytelling. So I loved everything about these pirates. It gave something as far as Navarro and Grief Karga to do in this season. So I really dug it. How about you, Zach?
I liked him. They felt
Good.
very Star Wars to me.
Good.
I thought his character design was crazy and cool, but it worked for me. His name is awesome. Perfect, like side villain to me.
Yeah.
He was interesting. He gave me some cool stuff to see. Wasn't boring at all. And had a cool death. So
Yeah, he did. DJ,
Yeah.
pirate thoughts?
I have pirate thoughts often. No, I loved all the pirate stuff. I thought it was fun. And yeah. His Vane with a V, Vane. I had to Google it, but I thought, aside from Gorian Shard's hilarious. I think he's like the perfect Star Wars character, like, and
I would follow that man.
What's so funny to me, follow that man to the end, like what's so funny to me is I actually unintentionally watched Dead Man's Chest like the week that episode premiered, but like 2 or 3 days before that episode even came out, didn't expect to see pirates, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I just watched Pirates of the Caribbean, so like I was kind of in pirate mode. Weirdly, like when am I ever? Never,
Well,
so
we mentioned that side dude that looks like the guy from Peter Pan too. Like
well,
they went all
Schmee,
in on the pirate stuff for sure.
Yeah, the pirate things were great.
And
the ship looked great. All of their extra,
ship looked fantastic.
I mean, that was out of a comic book too. I still haven't figured out where that came from.
Yep.
Just a lot of great stuff with the pirates. Yeah, Vane's coming back in Skeleton Crew. I know this because
You've seen it. You've seen it. That's why.
I have. Well, no.
He's got sources.
Yeah. I've been keeping on the down low this whole last 2 years. Sorry, buddy. No, I watched a clip of another podcast on Instagram, and this guy I follow, James Bainey from the Resistance broadcast. He guests on another pod, and they asked him about the Skeleton Crew thing, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Vane's coming back because I literally saw him with my own eyes in the secret trailer. They showed it.
I see.
Skeleton Crew.
Okay,
so Vane's in
confirmed.
the trailer for
Yeah.
Skeleton. So confirmed, he's returning for Skeleton Crew.
Cool.
I like it.
But
I like it.
what's great about that is now we get this Lost Boy, Peter Pan, Captain Hook thing going forward, and I think that's going to be really fun because in Return of the Jedi, you have Lando Calrissian looking at Han, going, "Oh, well, you get going, you old pirate!" Like. And he even says, "Hey, you old pirate, so good to see you in Empire Strikes Back." So, like, we're getting, okay, was Han ever actually a pirate? Does Lando just call him that to be funny? Where's the pirate stuff? Give me some more pirate stuff. So
I love pirates. I'm a sucker for pirates.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite ride at Disney World. I'm that nerd.
Oh, I thought you were being facetious. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. I love pirates.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. They are one of my favorite things in history. And I think they're awesome. And they fit this world of Star Wars to me so much because these things would be like this. Like, if this universe is this big and there's a galaxy and ships and stuff, there's going to be pirates everywhere.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And
so I love the pirates. I can't wait to see them again.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing them again, and that's certainly exciting. Well, the next little season 3 thing here in our notes was put in here by DJ. So honestly, DJ, if you want to go ahead and take this one, I don't know what's going on with it. It says, "Do we feel our suspicions were or are warranted even now?" What are you getting at there, man? What are you getting at?
I'm looking at suspicions more so surrounding, the Mandalorian spy thing. Like, I know we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
And I thought I actually wrote that out better originally. I'm so sorry I didn't. But I really was kind of just trying to figure out, okay, what's another talking point here? Because, we got this whole thing with Axe Woves or the Armorer. Are they working for the Empire? At least that's what I was thinking. Are they working with the Shadow Council? We had all of this stuff going on. And really what I'm trying to ultimately get at here is, do we think that even though everything is kosher here at the end, is there even like a minimal chance that any of those Mandalorians who had primary roles, Casca, Axe Woves, the Armorer, I'll just throw Din and Bo in there just for kicks and giggles, but do we think anybody in that world is some kind of a defector and an undercover spy? And now that we're here and we've talked about it a little bit, I'll just say I don't think so. I would imagine there are certain groups of fandom who do, and there's probably not a very big group of people. I feel like by now we would have seen something floating around about that. And I haven't.
Yeah.
Not saying I know everything about Star Wars because I don't, but I feel like I would have seen something by now, just how ingrained I am with it. So what do you guys think about it?
No, I'm kind of with you.
I'm with you. I don't think.
Okay.
Now, could that change?
That's what. That's what
I think so.
I think it could change.
Like the
that's
Empire
what I mean by that
comes
little
along
inkling.
and gives you a little, hey, we'll set you up on Mandalore over here. Like, I don't think.
Here's your 30 pieces of silver. Judas
like I don't think.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you bounty hunter, you whatever you were for however many years, you have nothing. I don't think it's against what could happen, but at this moment, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think they all about Mandalore at this point.
Those are my exact thoughts on that, Zach. So I feel like we've definitely kind of hit that home, and honestly, I kind of feel like maybe we've covered really all the big things regarding season 3. I mean, is there anything that I've missed? DJ, Zach, anything else?
I just wanted to kind of sum up how I feel about the season. I don't think we really talked about that in general. I would say it is my least favorite of the 3.
I agree.
And I think that's a pretty common thing. However, still good TV to me. Like, still entertaining, still loved what I saw most of the time. Din Djarin, I think I may have told you this, Keller, but he has become my favorite character in Star Wars. I love him so much. I think his character design is so sick. His story is awesome. His loyalty and just his morality is so cool to me. So I love this show, and I think season 3 was good.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think season 3 for me was definitely my least favorite. If I was ranking them, it'd be season 2, season 1, season 3. There were still a lot of stuff in season 3 that I absolutely loved. I loved this journey as far as Bo-Katan taking the front and center, if you will, there toward maybe the back half specifically. Yeah, a lot of stuff in it, obviously, and people that are listening have heard us. A lot of nitpicks here and there along the way, and that's naturally going to happen. But, yeah, good. Exactly what you said, Zach. Good television. Good television. DJ, your overall thoughts on season 3?
Yeah, it's 2-1-3 for me. But I'm a little – it's not like it was bad. Y'all said it's good TV. It's not that anything in it was just overtly horrible. Like – the things that, like, for me, like, I like Jack Black, so I don't mind him being in Star Wars. It's like, if you're going to tell a story, I'm of the opinion that Jack Black as a person can fit into any universe at this point. He just doesn't need to be a major person, like, I mean, it just, to me, if they threw him into Game of Thrones, I'll be like, yeah, that'll work, like if they threw him
and what I'll say on that is I thought his character was interesting.
Yeah, I
gotta say. Like the little background they gave him. Now it's Jack Black, so you're very distracted by, oh my gosh, this is Jack Black. But if it wasn't Jack Black, I think that would have been a way interesting character to kind of dip our toe into.
I think so too, and that was fine.
Keller doesn't agree, but that's fine. Keep it to yourself.
Continue. Carry on.
Well, and Caleb and I have gone on and on about this. Yeah. Why I think he hates that I love Jack Black. Honestly,
yeah. Caleb doesn't like Jack Black.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't like Jack Black.
I don't see how you don't.
I think it's just, honestly though, in full honesty, comedy's just not my genre, if I'm being honest. So I don't really
You're just a curmudgeon.
Like Kevin Hart, The Rock, like all those kind of Jack Black, like
completely fair.
It's just not my thing. So I don't have that Jack Black craze. I don't hate you for that you have it. I'm just saying it's just not for me.
I didn't say you hated me. I said you hated my love for Jack Black.
I don't hate your love for Jack Black.
That's what I heard.
Oh man! No. Until you come back,
none of the above.
Go watch the scene in Anchorman where he drop kicks the dog off of a bridge and tell me that's not hilarious.
Shoot, all I gotta say is Kung Fu Panda. It's one of the best trilogies of all time.
Nacho Libre, man.
Oh,
I love Nacho Libre.
School of Rock. Come on,
King Kong. King Kong. I'm just kidding. Not King Kong.
He's all right, yeah. Whoa.
Pass.
How
and
dare
pass.
you?
All day long.
It's just not for me, guys. It's just not for me.
Back to my point, though. I didn't mean to go on a Jack Black rant. But
go get him.
I like Jack Black here because I like Jack Black. Okay, Lizzo. I was like, really? But then I saw the tweet where she was like, "My dad showed me Star Wars. You're one of us. Come on in. Like, be welcomed. All right, we are glad. I'm like, Ray, be with me. Okay, like I'm glad you're here. Let's do this. Okay." Christopher Lloyd, fantastic. Loved all that. So for me, like when you get down to the nitpickiest of things here, I still enjoy season 3. I'm still going to rewatch it. I'm going to do a full 3-season rewatch before season 4, probably before Ahsoka, and probably before Skeleton Crew as well. With Book of Boba Fett, I've got once Skeleton Crew comes out, I got 5 seasons of TV to watch. I'm a happy camper, So for me, it's good stuff to come and revisit. It's good stuff to laugh at because it's a little wonky, and here we are, like it's nothing, no problem with it, really overtly. So for me, like back to the original thing, we kind of ranked them. Season 2 is the best Mandalorian, and I don't really know why. It just is. Probably because it just built off the hype and we were just ready for it. Season 1 is just, I don't know, it's just cool. Like
nostalgic.
It's
Western.
like if you're gonna like make a Hollywood comparison, it's the James Dean of Mandalorian. That's season 1.
I agree.
Season 3 is kind of I don't know. It's kind of just like this redheaded stepchild, but like you still love it because it's so weird. Like it's just got a lot of really good stuff. So I love the season. Everything that you need to hear from me on this season, you just watch the last few or listen to the last few episodes of Mando Talk. You're going to know exactly how I feel about the whole season. And I think we can all say that for this season. Just go back. That's what we think, and that's where I'm at. And I loved it.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully all of you out there loved it. At least you found something enjoyable regarding season 3. But we're not done with this podcast episode. That's not the only thing we wanted to do. The next thing that we definitely need to do is one final Mando Messenger segment. And this is actually because I goofed last week. I completely missed our 2 submissions that were on Discord. Our loyal Discord members that have been listening to Mando Talk for a while now, and they always take the time to engage and conversate inside Discord, which, by the way, everybody is welcome to join Discord. That link is always down in the description. So we definitely wanted to do our due diligence and take a look at these final thoughts from 2 of our listeners before we do get into our way too early predictions for season 4. And I'm actually going to ask you, Zach, if you will go ahead and hit these 2 submissions, and then we will discuss them.
Love to. So the first one comes from Melanie, and they say, I thought the episode was amazing. Fabulous action, tension, suspense, and heartwarming moments. I could barely breathe. Lighting the Great Forge was beautiful, and it was great to see R5 get highlighted and be part of the plan. I agree. I only wish that they had mentioned Honored Paz when his son finished taking the creed. Excellent finale. Hopefully season 4 will be out sooner rather than later. And I'm glad that they brought that up because where was the Paz love? You know what I mean?
We didn't even touch on Paz in our
what a moment
there.
What a moment. Like
I loved the death of Paz, but yes, Melanie, you're 1000% correct. Yeah. We should have seen something in the finale there. And I do feel like what Melanie says there, as far as it being during the creed, I feel like that was the place to probably do it.
100%.
Great idea.
I've seen notes on that though, where people have said, well, he's standing next to Axe Woves. So maybe there's like a apprenticeship thing.
A subtlety kind of thing that we have to assume to get some Paz closure.
I do think that we needed some like real closure there too, though.
Yeah, we needed something.
I agree with her.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I didn't get to talk about this, but the fact that he got demolished by those guards made me so happy for how it tied into this. You're talking about the sequel stuff. And the fact that he's just wrecking all those troopers and then they come in, awesome Avengers Endgame shot, and just quickly gone. Just quickly. And I love that so much. So shout out Paz.
No, I agree.
What a death.
For sure.
And
shout out to R5 as well.
Shout out R5 too. Doing his job. Nice job. Scaredy cat. I love
R5.
All right. So the last one here comes from Speeder Bike Tim. I watched the episode with an open mind, not considering the thoughts and conspiracies we all discussed. I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. I was surprised to find out the clones were actually Force-influenced Moff Gideon clones. That would have been interesting. Moff Gideon with Grogu powers and Mandalorian Beskar. I'm glad they were destroyed, though. I was glad to see the armor wasn't a spy, and at the end, when she was giving the oath to Paz's son, I noticed the line of not removing the helmet was omitted. The fact that Grogu saved Din and Bo by deflecting the flames was very Kanan-ish.
Yes, you got that. You got that.
I'm pretty sure season 4 Grogu will be the one to tame the Mythosaur, as I noticed he sensed it at the bottom of the lake. I think the next season will get back to the missions of Din Djarin and Din Grogu, so he can become more than an apprentice. I'm looking forward to how Mandalorian society moves forward from here. And the funniest part for me was IG-11 becoming the marshal and having his Grief Karga paint job.
Great stuff
Well
there,
said.
Tim.
Yeah, well
Man.
said by
very
Tim
well
here.
said.
A lot
I
of things
agree
we've
with
kind of
everything.
naturally kind of touched on during our season 3 reflection.
Mhm.
I love
Oh.
the Kanan name drop there, obviously. Love
And
that.
I didn't watch the shows, but I've seen the clip of this where he
yeah.
like turns and it's
From
basically
Rebels.
the same shot. But yeah.
That shot was enough for me to watch Rebels.
Mm.
That's and also knowing Ahsoka showed up because I grew up with I don't want to say grew up. Final years of high school were surrounded by Clone Wars. So like for me, it was like, okay, that's a good reason to jump in. But yeah, very Kanan. Very, very Kanan. He did
And
Grogu did what Kanan couldn't, and that's that's a very interesting note.
Oof.
And we also talked about
that's not a dig.
No. I didn't take it that way. I'm saying like, oof, emotional damage.
Yeah.
Fair, totally fair.
and we didn't talk about Din Grogu either.
Yeah, Din Grogu.
Sir Din Grogu.
Sir, is he Sir now?
He was
Yeah, by
knighted,
Lizzo.
He was knighted by Lizzo. He's a.
Oh, yeah, forgot about that. My
If
favorite
you're on
episode.
podcast platforms, you missed my eye roll there.
You
but
and
I love
Zach-
him being knighted.
You and Zach rolled your eyes in sync. That was
I was just like, I forgot about that. But yeah, no, Din Grogu, that's cool. Like, I love that what Tim talks about, and this is a perfect segue into the next section, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we move on, thank you everybody for your Discord messages. You know, we
Yes.
appreciate that here at Mando Talk. About said at Mythosaur, at Mando Talk, wrong brand.
It's a Mythosaur talk now.
Yeah, at Mytho Talk. But yeah, it's
Competition ideas there. You're just getting them out there.
yeah, that's right.
I'd like to now announce that I'm starting my own Star Wars
Yeah,
podcast.
Mytho Talk.
Mytho Talk.
Yeah.
Same logo and everything.
Yes.
I want to. I guess we'll let DJ kind of lead the way into way too early predictions. But
Yeah.
So DJ, take us away.
Yeah, just to echo you said a second ago, and I'm actually pulling up my predictions on my phone right now. I didn't type those into show notes this week.
Keeping them secretive.
Very. Yeah, I mean they're not really secretive, but yeah, we're gonna talk some way too early predictions for season 4. You know, we're in this segment. It's just about speculating semi-responsibly. I'm not going to speculate responsibly, and it's based on what we've seen from season 3, possibly seasons 1 and 2 as well, even Book of Boba, what we might expect to see in Ahsoka, and what that tells us for season 4. So. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's do a little roundtable thing here. I'll start with Caleb. Caleb, I have 4.5 predictions.
Yeah.
Because a half is like a little sub note, but we'll do a roundtable until we're done. And Caleb, what do you have anything to start off with?
Well, I mean, I'll just go ahead and say I do think based on this season and season 2, really, the name drops of Thrawn in 2 seasons in a row. Of course, we'll get Ahsoka, where Thrawn becomes the absolute main villain. I do think then in season 4, Thrawn will have some form of presence, because obviously we got Din Djarin and Grogu and Carson Teva doing this whole New Republic thing. I think at some point, maybe the latter half of season 4, it makes that grand reveal of, oh, Din and Grogu's connected to Ahsoka, and this is all leading to that movie that Filoni has been given at this point. So there's, I guess, my first prediction. Thrawn will officially make a presence in the Mandalorian show with season 4. I'll just kind of start there. Maybe safe, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Zach, thoughts?
So
or
my
predictions
can be kind of short and sweet. I think my thought of season 4 is pretty obvious and pretty straightforward. We get a mix of the 2 seasons, or of the 2 vibes that we've gotten, I should say. We get day by day, they're going on missions with the New Republic, classic Mandalorian type with Din and Grogu.
Sure.
Sprinkled in with the underlying Thrawn First Order presence looming. And it's going to lead us directly into the movie. I think we get season 4 right before the movie, and then we then get like the end of the season. There's not really like, I wouldn't even say there's not a big bad. I think something's going to happen. Like it's going to be an inciting incident to move us into the movie. Whether, something happens to Din, which it won't, or like Grief or somebody like,
Ooh.
oh no, and then
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very end game type thing, or I should say
Infinity War. Yeah, I could see that.
That's my prediction.
All right, I got one. I'm glad y'all didn't touch on it. But this is kind of like, this is a definite season 4 prediction. Because I have some things like y'all said that kind of maybe reach out to other little other stories and movies and things like that. But so this one's definitely for season 4. Kane, the spy working and trying to off Pershing, she will return and be a direct link between Pershing and any future cloning discussions.
So doubling down on the fact that the Pershing episode is very vital.
I think
forward.
It's important because, like we talked about last week, Caleb, I said something to the effect of all this cloning stuff, the Shadow Council, Kane, Pershing, it's making me want to know more about the Imperial presence post Return of the Jedi and why I'm wanting to read like Heir to the Empire and that Thrawn trilogy and try to figure out some things that help maybe bridge a gap. And that, not that I'm off kiltered and don't ruining a surprise or something, nothing like that. I just want to see how that all plays in. And I think Kane is a good way to explore that. Kind of being like this, kind of being the antithesis to Carson Teva's character.
Yeah.
I frankly love that idea. Having Kane kind of underlie. I don't want too much of that, but
no, not a lot.
Going back to kind of what you said there, the more important thing to me is the presence of the Empire / First Order in the New Republic. Because if you watch my Bad Batch episodes, that's my favorite part of Bad Batch is when we get Empire stuff, because that's way more interesting than the Jedi that survived Order 66 that we've seen 57 times. Even though I loved it. I say that. Jaded. I love that. But I just think the Empire and like thinking about this government, invading, and they're not going to all go away. Okay, yeah, we won. We blew up the second Death Star. Great. They didn't all die. Like, they're in the universe. And so I am very interested to see how they keep that thread, especially with this Thrawn character, which they're going to run the risk of what we've talked about with Rebels and everything, where like the general person, that doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
So you have the Thanos effect. I know we keep talking about Marvel, but they're doing the same thing.
They are.
You have the Thanos effect where I didn't know who that was. I've heard of him, but I didn't know the real stakes. So that's what we need. We need something to hook my wife. It's always about my wife on this show. Like if I can get her hooked, I know it's working. And so I have
that same mindset too. Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. I've actually lost what I was even talking about because I got so worked up about Thrawn and Thanos. But yeah.
well, you were talking, I was going to say too, thinking back to season 3, the Empire vibes. We got incredible moment after moment after moment in season 3, but I still think my favorite scene of the entire season is just that Shadow Council conversation. Like, that was just so cool.
It's a very important
those Imperial vibes, First Order groundwork, and I do think that those vibes are going to continue to roll over not only into Ahsoka, but also into season 4 of The Mandalorian. And while you mentioned Kane there, I guess that's kind of like a natural transition to my second prediction. I think somehow, as Din and Grogu are doing these missions for the New Republic and Carson Teva, I think somehow Carson Teva figures out about Kane and the fact that she's a spy for the Empire and whatnot, and Din Djarin has a mission, a bounty hunter-esque mission, if you will, to hunt down and kill Kane. And I think that's something that we see in season 4. So there's my
I don't think it'll
prediction.
Be a kill. I think it'll be a just capture.
Bring her in. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, that's even better. Yeah, that's even better than what I said.
Maybe not.
Well, no,
you're probably right. Probably not a kill.
Adds on to what you're talking about, DJ. I think it.
Sure.
I think it's the both. Like, she's gonna be doing her stuff. Carson's gonna get a little sniff of, all right, something's going on here. Get me proof, or go get her, or something. I think that's gonna be cool.
Sure. And then we have like the good guy version of Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones a little bit. That's kind of what it sounds like, what you're saying. Where like, go get her, bring her in, or kill her, or whatever.
Okay.
Because that's kind of what Django's doing with Padme.
I love that idea.
It just feels like an inverse good guy, bad guy thing.
Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe not kill. I'm just thinking back. Remember the season?
I think she
2?
does die though.
Oh yeah,
I want to throw that out
she's
there.
gone eventually. Yeah,
I think
This
so
season,
too.
I think gone.
Remember in
season,
season 2, the opener, the very first scene where Din Djarin goes to that little wrestling or boxing match, and like he captures that dude, and he doesn't really kill him, but he has him hanging there, and those hounds basically kill him, like almost like a kill like that, like where he's not physically doing it, but he's setting up the kill.
Yeah. Like I've said this on here before. I've got this other podcast I do where we talk about different movies. We recorded one this afternoon on 1999 Tarzan, the animated movie. Okay. But we talked about in that but Disney doesn't allow their heroes to kill the villain. It's always like they fall off a ledge or they get tangled. And in the case of Tarzan, Clayton gets tangled up in vines. It's very dark. So, but think about, but to your point, what you said about Din in the opener of season 2, he lets the hounds do the killing. That's a Disney thing. They're not going to let
for sure.
Because what do we see Han Solo do every 15 seconds in A New Hope and Return of the Jedi? Boom, bad guy dead. I mean,
to be fair, problem. Mando kills like a bunch of people.
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
but like
definitely does.
But that was a focal point moment in that in a cold open.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
Premiere,
I agree.
I'm just
saying,
no, you can't kill him. You got to.
If we're talking body count, like these Mandalorians have.
It's like
racked it up.
It's like Din Djarin and Chopper. Like that's that order. Chopper the droid from Rebels. He has the highest body count of any character in Star Wars. Those are bold-faced facts, by the way.
Bold-faced.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know.
Chopper.
More than Luke blowing up a Death Star.
We don't know how many people.
Good point.
We don't really know. We don't really know how many. He didn't blow up the second one.
Alderaan.
Fair. That's fair.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about one single character where we see them rack up the body count.
All right, that's fair.
It's Chopper.
Okay,
which is crazy, and I like that.
It's so dumb, but I love it. It's fun. It goes back to the goodness. Okay, where are we? Okay, Zach, you have another prediction?
I know. Okay. Frankly, I was just going to kind of feed into this.
Feed off of it. Yeah. DJ, hit us with yours.
All right.
Hit us with your other two.
Change of pace. All right. Keller and Beck will return, and we'll see some training between him and Grogu and some flashbacks. We kind of talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
I think that will happen in the 4th season, though. I think that's something that specifically needs to happen in the 4th season because Grogu, I just want to know, where do we go from Order 66 to Mando season 1, episode 1? How do we get to that? And Kelleran's a big part of that. And I want to see how that works out. Does somebody kill Kelleran? Is there like this? Do we do an offshoot show where Ahmed Best gets to have his own prequel season of The Mandalorian? Whatever. I'm just saying I want to see more of that, and I think that will be revealed in season 4. What do you about y'all?
No, I'm with you. I love that idea. We do know it has to end poorly for Keller and Beck. Now, whether they commit to that in season 4 or they hold off for later, I don't think that's a movie. I don't think that's a movie reveal though in Filoni's.
No, I come back to, I don't know if it means he's like a bad ending, right?
It doesn't mean he has to be dead. Grogu could have been kidnapped and they could have been separated, and it's kind of, and even in Bad Batch, in season 2, I'm not going to spoil it for Zach, but that one group takes off in hyperspace, and the other group doesn't know where they went. They can't track them because they can't track through hyperspace yet. So, we're getting,
which I hope gets erased off the Earth. By the way,
I wasn't a big fan of that either. But I'm not saying that they can't ever be together post Return of the Jedi. It does say where was Kelleran during all of that?
So I was going to say
about a massive
I'm being devil's advocate here, right?
Sure.
What if I do think he's going to, the Empire is going to need to do something, and he's going to sacrifice himself, to try to protect them. If I had to do a prediction, I do think we're going to see him get killed in a flashback.
I think I agree, but I also love the idea too that maybe DJ, you're saying they could get separated, and maybe then we catch up in present day, and Keller and Beck's this just super old and wise master, and they reunite. That'd be so wild.
That'd be so dope.
And we do this Arrowverse thing where in seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 of Arrow, you have modern day and then 5 years earlier. And by the time, you tell Oliver Queen's whole story, let's just do that with Keller and Beck. I mean, why
Yeah,
not?
I'm good with
and
that.
even if it's a darker story, even better. I don't mind.
Exactly.
Let's see what Ahmed Best can do when he's given this kind of material. Like let's see what happens. And I think he's earned it. I think he deserves it. And if he doesn't get a side quest show, at least give us a story in a future season. That's kind of where I was at.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I'm with you.
I think we're going to see it.
Yeah, I hope so. Caleb, do you have any other predictions?
I'm enjoying hearing yours and going off of those.
I got two more. I got two more, and then I'll be done. All right. This one's kind of a quick one. We don't need to dwell on it too much. I think that Axe Woves will train Ragnar, aka Paz Vizsla's son, in the ways of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And my main reason for that is because the tension that was between Axe and Paz on the boat when they were playing a little chess game. I think that that's a good moment to kind of say, okay, they got in a fight, Grogu broke it up, whatever. But because Paz lays down his life for everybody in this very sacrificial thing, Axe is like, man, like I was just trying to beat the tar out of that guy, and now he dies for me. Like there's this mutual respect thing. So I think that he just naturally is like, come on, kid, like I got you. Found family type of thing.
Man,
I don't know. What do you think?
That's just making me kind of think too. Like, if we do get to Axe and Paz yet again, we're gonna have to somehow go back to Bo-Katan and Mandalore. But I know we were talking about how season 4 is gonna refocus on Din and Grogu being at the focal point of the story. So I guess this kind of opens up us having. I don't think this is going to be a quick discussion at all. Like, do we feel like season 4 is really going to be full on just Din and Grogu going on these missions, or are we going to have Din and Grogu somehow get mixed back into going back to Mandalore, or is it going to be these two different plots that are cutting back and forward, back and forward, back and forward, like other shows have done in the past? I don't personally know the answer to that. Maybe Zach, you can kind of give your opinions on which of those you believe it's going to be. But I do think, if we're going to get Axe and Paz, or excuse me, not Paz, Axe and Ragnar, my bad. You know what I'm trying to say there, though. If we do get back to them, it's going to have to not fully be focused on Din and Grogu at some point, right?
I think at this point, I think it's going to be more of a, when he goes back to Mandalore and hangs out with Bo, you're going to see Axe working with him, but I don't think it's going to be like, he's my son now. Like, I don't think we're going to get that type of
I think it's more of an apprenticeship, like not a father-son thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Yeah, I think we do see it, but
because
I don't know. They keep bringing back to this kid that
I think we would have seen an adoption scene like with Din and Grogu if they wanted to make him father-son, make them father-son.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. Well. So I think that having Ragnar stand next to Axe is just like our little, hey, here, this is to let you know.
Yeah,
perfect. And I think that's how it's going to marinate moving forward. It's going to be like scenes, but I don't think it's going to be like a plot pointer.
And I think that's great for this kid as an actor because he gets his first little, taste of the business. And
in a big way,
in a huge way. Yeah. And it's not a detriment to him like it was to Jake Lloyd, for example, baby Anakin. He gets to kind of ease in. And I think that, every time a child gets involved in a major franchise now, creators are very conscious of what's happened before, and they're trying to make, at least nowadays, give those kids a little more freedom and not freedom, but more rights and to kind of help them get in there. So great for Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. Okay. But like also great for us because we get a nice little, hopefully get something where there's an apprenticeship being thing like we've talked about.
Yeah. Right, so now real quickly though, I just back to my question, DJ, do you think it's Din Djarin and Grogu have to go back to Mandalore for just like an episode, and that's how we get this whole Bo-Katan and Axe and all them, or are we cutting back and forward in season 4? Like, how do you feel about how would that come to be? I guess
in order to tell this part of the story,
right? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I think that we get something kind of like what we get with Greef Karga every season. Okay. We're gonna just touch base and we'll be back later. Like Navarro's been for all intents and purposes, our Mandalorian version of Tatooine.
Absolutely,
it's where we return to.
100%. So 100%.
So Mandalore now becomes, I don't know, kind of like our Coruscant, I guess.
Yeah.
Just to try to
like
compare.
that.
So or our Death Star minus the whole death part. You
Sure.
know, like
Minus the evil.
yeah, it's just one of those things that like, all right, let's go touch base real quick. You know, it's like
Yeah.
because we're not done with these characters. We're not done
Oh,
with we're not done with
no.
Bo-Katan. You know, we're
No
not done with
shot.
Mandalore. The show is still called The Mandalorian, so we're not done with Mandalore. It'd just be wrong to be done with Mandalore. So
Yeah.
we're gonna come back. We're gonna see it, and it's kind of like I think Jack, you said it. Back in the background, Ragnar, X-Wolves, they're throwing blows, they're shooting little paint darts at each other, training, whatever. You know, like it's just an apprenticeship thing, and I think that's all it is.
I do have to admit, I am intrigued by just the concept. If they wanted to take a swing and do something different, of doing like 2 plots and cutting back and forth throughout season 4, but I do think we are kind of going back to our roots. I'm leaning more so that way of it being Din and Grogu, and they just need to go to Mandalore at some point for a mission. All right, continue. Sure. Sorry, I felt like the conversation took us there.
No, and I think that was a good thing to bring up. I think it was very warranted because we are talking what we might see, so it makes perfect sense. So, last prediction for me, and I'll turn it back over to Caleb after this, but this is it. Grogu will tame the Mythosaur via the Force. He will use the Force to tame the Mythosaur, similar to the Mudhorn and the Rancor, and this will reestablish the lore of the Mandalore, set up first by Tar Vizsla. I think that, you know, where does this whole Darksaber Mythosaur thing start? It starts with the ancient Mandalorian traditions, and Grogu is going to reignite all of that.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that Grogu will reforge or be a part of the reforging of the Darksaber. That he will wield that thing in his tiny little baby Yoda hand. Like, look, if we can get Yoda, nobody believed Yoda could be CGI and wield a lightsaber prior to episode 2. And that's all anybody talked about when that movie came out. So fast forward, what can we do with Grogu? Does he have to always look like a puppet? No, he doesn't. We can make a CG Grogu and he could flip around all day long and fight his version of Count Dooku. Maybe Keller and Beck's a Sith now and he fights Keller and Beck. Probably
that would
not.
be wild.
Crazy. But anyway, I think that that is something that 1000% will happen, and he will be the next and final wielder of the Darksaber. Grogu specifically.
I'm all in on that. All in on that.
I don't know. That. I don't like understand how they could like pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? No idea. I don't have the technical know-how to figure that out. I don't have the training.
That's why we don't have the job.
Yeah, that's why I don't work for Lucasfilm. Yeah, plain and simple, and none of us do. So I think that they can do it. They've done it before. Let's do it again. And bring back Sir Din Grogu, and let him use the Darksaber, because I remember, okay, so kind of a sidetrack here. I remember before Attack of the Clones, and I still have my episode 1 Phantom Menace Yoda action figure. I have it and the little Jedi Council chair and the little chip reader on the Comtech thing, Caleb. I still have all of that. And I remember putting a blue toy lightsaber in that little Yoda's hand as a child and playing with him as if he had, because I was like, well, he's a Jedi, he's gonna have a lightsaber. I tell people, this is Yoda's lightsaber, it's blue. He goes, no, Yoda didn't have a lightsaber. He's never gonna have a lightsaber. Attack of the Clones comes out 5 months later, boom, he's got a lightsaber. So I want to see my childhood dreams happen twice.
I'm following. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I have the Moff Gideon Black Series from season 1, and it came with the Darksaber. I also have a Black Series Grogu. I'll put that in his hand as a grown man. I don't care, because I want him to have that. You know, like I want to see these kinds of things. So at the sake of repeating myself as like a broken record, what do y'all think?
Zach?
Are you asking, do I think that's going to happen?
Anything. You just interpret that how you want.
I think I go back to the Darksaber thing of, I don't know if they reforge it.
Okay.
I think I sit on the side of, I don't think they're going to.
I think it's gone. Yeah.
And that just comes from a guy who doesn't know the history that y'all know. Just from what I know about it, it would seem to me that the way Bo is speaking at the end of the season is that they don't need that to lead and be together.
Yeah.
So I think
I see that too.
Mythosaur would be enough to lead.
Yeah, it's almost like Grogu becomes this like he's just whipping his hands around on top of the mythosaur, like swirling the force, like almost Dumbledore-esque. I know Harry Potter-ish is iffy around here with DJ, but
I think that's a little too much. But
you think so?
Well, I mean,
do it.
I don't know. Like,
give him a little seat on the mythosaur and just have him sit up there.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of is the animated Atlantis movie when the girl kind of goes up into the rocks and they start swirling. I don't want to see that with the force.
Oh,
I think
I'm
that's
not
too
talking,
much.
Okay, fair.
With like if he's starting to do his if it's Fantasia with the Mickey Mouse and the magician's hat, I don't really want to see Grogu do that.
It is Disney.
Yeah, but that's a little too on the nose.
Give him a hat.
Even for Disney. Give him a little pointy hat with some stars on it.
Yeah.
Make it blue.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
So to answer your question, I don't know. I'm in the camp of I think the Darksaber is gonna lie where it is. I don't think they bring it back. Now I may be completely wrong. And they're going to reforge it with the Great Forge, and it's going to be dope, and it's going to be cool. I kind of hope I'm wrong, because that's going to be an awesome visual.
That would be cool.
But just the vibes I got at the end was like, we don't need the trinkets, Moff.
Yeah.
We're together.
Great point. DJ's all in on Darksaber's bag, baby.
That's fine. Hey, that's fine, man.
This is coming from a guy who at one point in his childhood owned like 10 lightsabers at once. Like... And I wish I was exaggerating. There were lightsabers my friends could play with, and then there were ones they could not play with. Like that was not. There's no question that those are not yours. Like so, I want to see. I want to thank you. I want to see more toys. Is really what I'm getting at here. And I'm not talking like in my life, in my world. I'm talking about in the world of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Give the baby Yoda a toy and let him go ham with it. Like that's what I.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. I have a prediction. I guess to kind of wrap us up.
Okay.
What are y'all's thoughts on how our children are going to view the sequel trilogy based on having the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and everything to kind of fill in the cracks of the plot? Do you think it's going to get a better rap for them?
I think if you look at it's kind of like history is repeating itself a little bit because of Clone Wars. Like Clone Wars revitalized a lot of people's love for the prequels. And for me, I've always loved the prequels regardless of Clone Wars, but there were people who hated the prequels and are now back at watching Clone Wars like, this is awesome. I love the prequels because of this. I think even Hayden Christensen thanked Matt Lanter, who voices Anakin in Clone Wars, and like, hey, you fleshed this out. Thank you. Like he threw them a bone and a big one. And that was a big thing for Hayden to say that because he was the star, So that's a big thing to do. So, yeah, I think that because of this, the sequels I'm not necessarily saying my daughter because she's too little, so I have no idea.
Just kids in general.
But kids in general, a coming generation.
Next generation, yeah.
Yeah, like my youngest brother, Brock, when he was 7, I think, when Force Awakens came out, he was the right age, and that kid loves Kylo Ren. He doesn't give a rip about what anybody thinks. He loves Kylo Ren. So I think
awesome.
Same.
Exactly.
I mean,
but even with the if you get into the Raylo business and all this other stuff, like he doesn't care.
No, so you said you kind of stole my thunder, DJ. But no, my point was going to say was like I think it's history repeating itself here. I think we're going to be in the future.
Yeah.
And people are going to realize like, okay, maybe the sequels aren't that bad. Like they're not amazing. They're never going to be the OG trilogy here.
Yeah.
The OT. Right. But to me, The Phantom Menace was the OG trilogy. I was in the theater, baby. I dressed up as Jar Jar for Halloween.
Yeah.
And so I try to think of it in that regard. Like my daughter, so they just dropped Young Jedi shorts or something on Disney Plus.
Yes. Pumped about it.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's the past 2 days, all we watched is that show. It's
Love
like
that.
5 little
That's
shorts.
Awesome.
And she loves it.
That's
it's got
great.
Yoda in it. He's like they're like a little special animated style of it.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's like these 3 little Jedi going on trips. And it's perfect. She loves it. And so that's my point of like, I think I think it's going to be a whole new light, and I'm so excited because of what Mandalorian is doing with filling in the clones.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I love it so much.
I was gonna say, I think the next generation is gonna like the sequels without anything else. I don't think
that's fair.
I don't
That's
think they
completely
need
okay, too.
Mandalorian. I don't think they need. I don't think any of that. I think if you show just those 3 movies, If you showed those 3 movies and nothing else to the next generation,
I think you're right. I think
they
you're
wouldn't
right.
have all of these preconceived expectations or notions or things regarding Palpatine.
That's how my
and
wife sees it.
Vader and
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I was
that's
going
why
to
I'm
say
saying, like,
specifically the Last Jedi.
that's
I think.
the Mandalorian and stuff like that helps me and may help like people that were teenagers when the sequels come out. But my son, for example, once he gets old enough to watch Star Wars, he's not going to know the difference between like what's going on with 7 through 9 compared to the originals, because depending on how he sees them, if he was to happen to come across the sequels before seeing any of the other ones, none of that stuff's going to matter. You know what I'm saying? So
I don't even think it's going to matter. It's going to be old movies. That's
and that was
at
another
that
thing
point,
too.
they're just old movies. Like,
that's an interesting conversation for sure. But I do think
I've been thinking about it a lot
Mandoverse,
lately.
the Mandoverse is helping us as far as like current Star Wars hardcore fans.
Absolutely, yeah.
I agree.
And your kids are, how old are your kids, Zach? You know,
4 and about to be 4 and about to be 2.
So 4 years old. Wow, your kid's already 2 years old. Holy cow!
Almost.
That's nuts. Okay, you got a 4-year-old though. Boy or girl?
Girl, boy.
Okay,
boy.
Okay, so your 4-year-old's a girl. I have a daughter. She's a year, 15 months, something like that. Okay. I love her. I just don't know how old she is. Okay. So, like every dad ever. But anyway, I've already started to think about what will I show her to maybe hopefully have this Star Wars connection with her. Yeah. I was talking to my dad about it because he showed me Star Wars. He goes, what I did with y'all was just showed y'all certain scenes.
Well, what I would say to that and the way I've done it, just involve her in it. So like we watch Mandalorian on the TV and we talk about it. We watch Force Awakens. We watched that the other night as like a family.
What does she? I need to know. But what does she think about Rey as a girl watching?
Dude, she loves Rey.
Okay, that really warms my heart because I want my daughter to love Star Wars so bad, but I want her to love Star Wars like I want her to love little Leia and Obi-Wan. I want her to love.
I want to say a hot take.
Zach,
don't
she's
start
gonna
with the original trilogy. Start with Force Awakens.
As far as showing kids, I think I agree with that.
For my daughter, I would do that because I want her to want to see Rey.
Yeah.
And if she has
awesome, dude.
Because if she wants to have questions, this is not about Mandalorian. So if you're still listening, thank you. I forgot we were
This
recording.
This is predictions of generations from now.
Yeah. That's we're predicting stuff way beyond. But, I want my daughter to like it, and I want her to like my sister, 2 years younger than me. Why does she like Star Wars? Padme. She still has the Padme Amidala, Queen Amidala Barbies in the box. Nice. I don't know how much they're worth, but I told her, don't open those. She goes, I don't. They're worth something. So she loves Star Wars because my dad took us and we watched Padme. My sister loves Padme and Anakin. She loves Rey. She loves Princess Leia, and she's 2 years younger than me. I'm not talking about a kid. I'm talking about a grown woman, I want to see the same love that my sister has for Star Wars with my daughter. And the generational predictions, I suppose, I want to see these things come back full circle like you talked about. And if I got to show my kid the movies out of order, I don't care. I just want her to love it because I love it.
I think that's the best call. At least that's the best thing I've seen from my daughter is just keep getting her involved. Like have the lightsaber. I have my lightsaber out over here in their like play area and they'll just like pick it up and play with it. And my daughter, because of Disney World, she loves it even more. She's like, oh, we're going to Star Wars. Star Wars is how she calls it. Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, we're going to Star Wars.
I love that.
So,
well, I was going to say, Zach, she's going to be the perfect age when that the new Rey movie comes out.
Oh, you're so right.
She's going to be the perfect age, man. That's going to be awesome.
I'll probably cry. I will cry. I'm not going to probably. I will cry.
We all will. We all know because we all. What's so funny to me is that through Mando Talk, this is kind of a full circle thing because this is the last one for me for a while. When Caleb, when you started Mando Talk the first time I came on, we were not parents.
True. That is right.
In this weird cyclical kind of way,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm starting to get a little teary-eyed thinking about it because we've been able to like get to a point now where we can say, I can't wait to show Timry, my daughter,
Sure.
this. You're like, I can't wait to show Dawson this.
Yeah.
And to think that we're here at this point now because of things like Mandalorian and Ahsoka coming out, and because I have a daughter, I want her to look up to strong female characters. Like I want her to see Ahsoka and be like, that's my kid, that's my girl. I want that for my daughter because I had that with Luke and Anakin, and Han Solo.
Right.
I want my daughter to have that. So hopefully that will happen. And you've seen it evident in your kids' lives, Zach. So I'm hoping that we get to that point for me. I want the history to repeat for Dawson and your son as well, whose name I don't know. I'm so sorry. But yes. I want these things to happen for all of us because I do love Star Wars so much. So were you saying that generationally speaking? Yeah, it's going to happen. They're going to love it no matter what, I think. And to start with Force Awakens is a kind of an interesting idea. Now I'm rethinking my timeline rewatch.
Well,
like,
the only reason I say that is because, like, the best graphically.
Right, that's what I was going to say. At some point,
it's more modern.
Look, the original trilogy will never be outdated for me, but at some point, kids are going to view the original trilogy as outdated, unfortunately, although they are legendary content, folks. Don't get it twisted. But maybe not the first Star Wars to show the next generation.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's a fun conversation.
Anyway, The Mandalorian Season 3 was great.
Yep, it was.
How did we get here, guys?
It really. Hey. Well, we were talking about, like how good Mandalorian has started to like tie up these loose ends, these cracks in the armor.
Yeah.
Of the sequel trilogy. I just think it's a fun conversation. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. I love it.
It's very, very cool to end on that wholesome kind of moment, though. It's very exciting, always. The direction that Star Wars can take us, not just us as three dudes that are sweaties and nerds and complain and find things to critique, but for kids out there that are just eating up this stuff. I mean, Grogu and Din Djarin, for those two characters to be the ones, and hopefully, like you said, DJ, Ahsoka next, for those to be the ones that maybe somebody out there is getting their first taste of Star Wars too, just warms my heart because I'd find it hard to imagine someone new to the lore to watch them and be like, oh, this isn't cool. Just great stuff that we're getting from Star Wars, and I cannot wait here at Mando Talk to cover the next show, Ahsoka, coming out in August. Can't wait to do that. But DJ, I think it's time for you to kind of, well, first of all, Zach, hold on, DJ, hold on. Zach, thanks you for coming on here and offering your take on the season overall, especially the back half, because we didn't have you here on the back half, so it was great to hear your thoughts on that. So any final words from you before we do pass it to DJ?
Happy to be here. I love talking Star Wars, especially with y'all and DJ. It's been great, our two times here. But I feel like you said, I know you because I've seen you on the Talk so much. So I appreciate it.
Well, Zach, we'll definitely work you. I'm sure.
I'll be back.
You're going to be on here at some point for an Ahsoka, maybe even multiple Ahsoka episodes. We'll see.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I got to go play Jedi Survivor.
I know, right? I'm sure you're over there thinking,
he's like,
let's wrap this up.
Get this done.
Hurry up, 11. Let's go. I think it's 11 o'clock that it drops. So
yeah, I think so. All right. Well, I will say this before I do pass it to DJ because he's going to be the one to close this sucker out. Follow us at Mando Talk, Twitter, and TikTok. Those are the two main ones. Join our Discord. Link is down in the description. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional content between now and the Ahsoka series, especially you podcast listeners, because that's where you can hear me and see me. In between now and then is exclusively on YouTube, but we will be back full in August to fully do our companion podcast weekly yet again for the upcoming Ahsoka series, and I cannot wait to do it. But DJ, again, thank you so much for your massive contribution to Mando Talk. I know that this isn't officially goodbye. What do they say? It's not goodbye. It's see you later or something like that. I'm sure you'll be back. You'll be back to, I'm sure, talk about one episode of Ahsoka or something along the lines. Somewhere in there, we'll hear your voice. So thank you again so much for everything that you've done for me personally, for the show, just for the Star Wars community, the fan base. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it to you to say your final thoughts and to send us out of here.
Yeah, no one's ever really gone.
Beautiful.
If there's one cool thing about the sequels, there's a few good bits of dialogue. There's a lot of good things about the sequels. Let's be real, but oh man, I don't know. I'm at my church. Okay. So I've done nearly every episode of Mando Talk inside my church. So first of all, I want to say thank you to my church for letting me use all of our stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I've bought literally one thing and it's this boom. That's all I've ever paid for. So my church, Journey Church, thank you. For letting me use lights and computers and everything else. Like I shouldn't, no church has ever been cool to do something like that. So there's that. It's really cool. I loved every second of this, even the days where I was rushing to get in front of the camera and
like
behind
today.
the mic. Yeah. Like today, stupid school zones, man. But I know. I feel like I'm leaving. I'm not leaving, I got to step away for a little while, and I don't know. It's just a podcast.
Yeah.
But it's a podcast that I have enjoyed putting my fingerprint on, and it's a podcast I've enjoyed, having kind of an outlet at times to talk about Star Wars where I didn't previously have one. And maybe so let me just say, I'll say two things and I'll be done. So let me put it to you this way. If you've never done a podcast, but you've always wanted to do it because you want your voice to be heard, you want to talk to somebody about whatever topic, if it's Star Wars, just freaking do it. It's so easy. It's so easy. The easiest thing in the world is to start a podcast. It's so simple. And you can literally start one with an AirPod, and you don't even need an AirPod. You can use old school iPhone headphones. You can start a podcast with nothing and be successful. So if you want to do that and you want to have fun like we've had, then just go freaking do it and talk about it, because you'll never have more fun. And some people may not know this. Never personally met Caleb, never shaken his hand, never met Zach. When I was first on back in 2021. Yeah. Never met anybody. I'm just some guy from the internet who got lucky. And and all that to say is, don't wait to be lucky. If you want to start a podcast, just go do it, because it's a lot of fun. Caleb, you said
guess what? If no one listens, we still get to hang out and talk about Star Wars.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
You're still getting what you need. So get your friends, get your buddies together and just talk Star Wars. Make a friend on Twitter like I did. Our parents told us for years, don't talk to people on the internet. Well, now it's like people make careers out of it.
Yeah.
So go freaking do it. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, when Caleb asked me to come on the show, I wanted him to know that I would never make this show just like my little Jesus corner. As a pastor, as a minister, I didn't want anybody to think he's just going to Jesus juke the whole thing. Okay. I want to make this the only time I ever do that, because it is my last time. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your savior, hit me up. I'll leave it at that. If you hate that I just said that, please still talk to me, because I believe he's real. I believe he's the Son of God. Let's talk about it. That's the only time I've ever said that in the history of Mando Talk, because I never wanted to make that the priority. I wanted to talk about Star Wars. But if you want to have that conversation with me, hit me up at Rebelscom Texan. Let's do that. Let's have that conversation. I will no longer do any more plugs. That's everything I want to say. So thank y'all again, Caleb. Thank you so much. All I did was technically get my name drawn out of a hat, but literally
out of a Death Star. No, excuse me, a Darth Vader Halloween candy bowl. Actually,
you got to get the facts right.
I'm so sorry. It's been a minute since I've seen that stream, I'll admit, but
fair.
I will continue to wear this with a ton of pride.
Hey.
Let's go.
And
the Mando Talk cap that started it all.
And this right here is, I wore it on the first one. I'm wearing it out on the last one. So just thanks.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Well, I've been told I have to get us out of here with what we're
do.
supposed to say. So, and it's on the hat too. We have spoken.